with our themes of sharing knowledge and critical discussion between friends and partners, we've invited a group of expert speakers in science, industry, working with community groups to come and share their experiences and how working together has benefited them. So with that in mind, our first expert is Pete Watson from SSEN.
Can I be here? Yeah, working. So I work for SSEN. Yep. And I kind of feel like the only developer or project builder in the room, so it's always slightly daunting. So quick bit of housekeeping quite often leads to confusion. SSE, SSEN, SHEPD, a whole bunch of different names. So essentially SSE is the big group. Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks is the bit I work under, and I sit right down in the bottom left corner, Scottish Hydroelectric Transmission. So it's just really to differentiate what I do from offshore wind farms, hydro generation, etc. That all sits under the other SSE business, so I can't really talk about it. But I will talk about Shorewatch, I will talk about SSEN, and I will talk about one of our projects. So it's a bit of a number for you. So Katie and Alice will be aware of our Caithness-Murray HVDC subsea cable that we're almost finished building. So I'm going to ask you, what do you reckon the 32,000 stands for?
Volt.
Pardon?
Volts.
No. No.
Miles.
No.
Number of houses served?
No. It is the number of... Sorry?
Number of people involved.
No, so it is the number of hours our environment, MMO and passive acoustic monitoring team have spent doing active work on the job. And that's in the last 3 years. So that equates to one person full-time for the last 18 years. And we're not finished yet. So that number will go over 40,000 before we're finished. And that in itself yields a huge amount of data. If we were to add in all our MMO Watch data forms and printed them out, which we don't do, it's a pile of waste time. It's a terrific amount of effort. And all of that data becomes publicly available. So, Katie might get embarrassed now. So, while we were developing this project, we were engaging with WDC at Bay Bay and the Shorewatch work. So, developers historically can be quite a challenge to bring them onto new things, and things change. SSEN and one of my projects held the second EPS license granted in Scotland. And when it came out, not even Marine Scotland knew exactly what we were doing. There was no guidance out there was no methods out there, but we knew it was something we needed to do. And the project team were, what's all this? Why are we doing it? Why do we have to do it? We haven't thought about this. So Katie came along and did one of her Shorewatch training days for our project team. On that team we had business unit directors, we had project managers, we had engineers, we had environment team staff. And the outcome of that is that I now get harassed, I think would be the right word, to make sure that we have the permits in place, that we have the right MMOs on board, that they're good MMOs, they're not just sort of fresh off the training course, that the equipment is correct, that the reporting is correct. We have stopped jobs, we've stopped boats, we've replaced crew, largely on the back of the business's education from the Shorewatch training. So as a developer, it actually made a huge difference. It's fair to say that I think very few have actually done any Shorewatch observations since, but what it did do is educate a business. So that in itself is quite an achievement. It's spread, and over the last few years, we've seen it with our survey contractors, our installation contractors. We had a boat working in Shetland, And I think most of the staff spent most of their time on Facebook looking at the orca sightings and trying to figure out if they could possibly get the boat to be in the right place at the right time, to turn all the systems off, stick on the incredibly expensive monitoring and acoustic system, and see what they could hear. They didn't manage it. They tried many times. I think we hit in a sea lock for probably a day longer than we should have done, hoping that the orca would come around the boat, but they didn't. So it's really just to say a bit of a thank you on that one, actually. And if you feel like doing more training, there are more developers out there that are worth a phone call. So moving on a little bit. Data. There's huge amounts of data available. The main plea I would make on data is to make it easily accessible. Scientific reports are great, but trying to incorporate a scientific report into that is hard work. So this is just a quick chart we put together for a project in Orkney. This is spatial data. Most of what we deal with is spatial data, GIS driven. We pulled together these is what we know as a constraints map. So we will try and track down every piece of information that's readily available in the public domain, ideally in spatial format, and plot it up on drawings like these. And we use these to inform our high-level choices, our high-level decisions. So when it comes to things like shore watch data, turning it into ArcGIS or QGIS layers, making it available in forms like this so that we can build it into our screening tools would be fantastically useful to us and the other developers. But what you will see is when you work in somewhere like Orkney, there are an awful lot of constraints from environmental, historic, commercial, and they all have to be balanced and brought together. And it is quite a challenge. So spatial data and good quality data that's corrected for effort, that's corrected for experience, that's got metadata in there that tells us where it came from, who collected it, how well trained they were, are there any gaps, are there any errors? All that kind of thing is key. So collect really good quality, robust data and make it available. Make a play, spatial data, layer files, XYZ files, anything like that. So that is the developer's kind of dream in terms of data sources. So moving on a little bit, and a little bit more about what I do. So my role within SSEN is to essentially design offshore routes, engage with other people, to understand the environment. Quite often we'll go out and we'll be working in an area where there is very little data. So we essentially go out, we commission some of the most experienced people on the planet to do this work, and by the time we're finished, we know more about the seabed where we work than anybody else. As part of our consenting, and as part of the licenses we obtain to do the work, once a project's built, this data goes in the public domain. So you can start to look at it. It's on some will be with Marine Scotland, some will be with Crown Estates, British Geological Survey, UKHO, we update charts, etc. But what I thought I'd ask on this one is, and we'll talk a little bit about acoustics, is there's very few ways to map the seabed apart from using sound. And that's just the way it is at the moment. But what we do uses much higher frequencies. Most of our systems are 400 kilohertz and above, rather than the lower frequencies like defense sonar. But what I'd ask you to see, what can people see in that? Any ideas? So we're like some random pointing. What does this look like? Any figures? Perfect. Rock. And in between we've got patches of sand, patches of cobble. So from these acoustic signatures, we can, again, using spatial data, turn it into something like this. So each of these colours represents a different type of seabed. So guessing Pair the two of these up. With sort of the light bluey colour, bedrock, the pinky red colour, sands, gravels, blue, finer sands. So this is kind of what we do with the data. What I wanted to do at the end though was to throw it open a little bit. I appreciate this is probably slightly off topic, is if anybody's got any quick questions they want to ask. If it's how to get involved in what we do, where the data is available, what type of data do we collect, how do we use SureWatch, either ask now or call me at some point during the day. Any questions? Yep.
I'm just going to ask, where can you find this data?
So this data at the moment is still in project development, so this isn't publicly available yet, but other projects I've done, it's available on, if you contact Marine Scotland or SMH, or indeed if you email me directly, and it depends on the use that it's going to. We can't put it out to a commercial developer, but where it comes to research and things like that, we see what we can do.
One of the problems with the planning system is you obviously have to do all this work prior to a development like this subsea cable going in.
Yeah.
But there's very seldom any follow-up, no funding for research and follow-up. So is there any monitoring post-construction to see if there's changes in the way cetaceans are using the area or anything like that?
Yeah, so with the project I'm involved in, the cable project, once they're installed, there's very little left on the seabed, but we do post-installation monitoring. So we design assets for sort of 40-year lifespan, and we've kind of committed that we will monitor them for that 40-year lifespan. So we've been, and some of my other work is with the Brighton Centre project, which is a EU-funded PhD program, and also the more recent one with SAMS looking at seabed change. So some of these projects are actually seeing they can use this data long term because we collected very long, as mentioned earlier, about SureWatch time series data sets. So if there are secondaries, what else can we gain from them? Can we look at seabed recovery, etc.? Yep.
Oh yeah, so you got your legs to go from Melbourne from last week.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so you take the data from like WDC, yeah,
Yep.
and you use it for your company to make profit. What comes back to WDC from that?
So I have to be careful about what we describe as sort of profit. The part of the business I work for is what's known as a regulated business. So we are in effect a monopoly, and everything we spend and any profit we make on that section of the business is controlled by Ofgem. So they limit how much money we can make because transmission infrastructure serves the whole country. Where you then look at a renewables or renewables project effectively, that would be seen as different. We're seen as providing a public service because everybody uses electricity. So, I mean, we've got aircon in here, there's probably about 150 smartphones that people charge every day. So we're seen slightly differently from a renewables developer, much as the way that your water comes through the taps and your sewerage goes through. The profit margins are controlled, so it's slightly different. In terms of what goes back to WDC, we do what we can. We do what we can, but we have to be careful what we say as a regulated business, I'm afraid.
I have an interest in a little lock broom on the west coast near
Yep.
Dundonnell.
Yep.
I'm aware that you did a survey recently of the seabed for
Yes.
possibly putting a cable in.
Yep.
I would really like to speak to you about this afterwards because I'm just about to set up doing some marine surveys there,
Yep.
and I would really like a copy of your charts. If that's not too much asked publicly.
Yep. Like I said, I can speak to you later.
I will,
The
yeah.
Western Isles project, it's not worth mine. I'm aware of the work that was done,
Okay.
but I can pass you on to my colleague who'll deal with that project.
Fabulous, thank you.
No problem. I think are we time-wise? A couple of minutes, so one more, and then
The Western Isles project you mentioned, there's a new line running north-south along the island at the moment. It seems to go into lofts every now and again. Do you look at the lofts as well when you're planning this?
We do, it depends on the exact alignment. Sea locks, etc. would be subject to sort of similar process quite often, and I can't speak specifically about Western Isles because it's not a project I'm involved in, but on similar jobs, what we've done is we've actually used directional drilling and drilled under them. So the cable is in effect out of the marine environment, it's in the bedrock. It varies case by case though. But again, I can pass on details to my colleague who deals with that project. So I think that's probably us time-wise.
That's great. Thank you very much.